A woman in her early 30s asked her husband to help her close friend buy a car. They had been friends for over 15 years, and she trusted him completely. The couple had a child in elementary school and a mortgage. The friend was single, without children, didn't consider herself very attractive, was lonely, craved male attention, and had decided she was ready to have a child on her own. The husband spent several weekends helping with the car purchase until they finally found one. During this time, he and the wife's friend began actively chatting in a messenger app. What started as practical discussions about cars gradually included jokes and eventually erotic humor. After the purchase, the friend threw a big party to christen the new car. She thanked her married friend and asked for her permission to continue communicating with her husband for ongoing car-related advice, tires, maintenance, brushing up on driving skills, etc. The communication between the man and the friend continued, now with his wife's blessing. The two women remained warm and close. It's unclear exactly when the husband and the friend became physically intimate, perhaps after 6 months, maybe a year. A couple of years later, the friend told the wife that she had found a man. A year after that, she had a baby. 3 years later, 7 years after the car was bought, the wife accidentally discovered that the child's middle name was the same as her husband's first name. Her husband had a very unique name. And the child was the spitting image of her husband. She went through her husband's phone and found everything, money transfers to the friend and their erotic conversations. The wife had a complete meltdown. She invited the friend over and confronted both her and her husband in a fierce showdown. It was chaotic, there was a physical fight, and she threw her husband's belongings off the balcony. The friend cried and apologized, saying she never meant to break up a family, she just desperately wanted a child. The husband was speechless, only able to mutter, "I'm sorry, it just happened, and please, don't kick me out." Later, in a session with me, the husband added more context. He explained that his wife had refused to have a second child, something he deeply wanted. So, he and his wife's friend had a shared desire for a child. Additionally, with their first child being older, his wife had delved deeply into esoteric courses and spirituality. He felt she had become a bit strange, had distanced herself from him, and had lost her femininity. At the time, the wife kicked her husband out and strictly forbade him from seeing his other child. The husband came to me, desperate to save his marriage. I convinced him not to push his wife about visiting the child and to avoid provoking her in any way. At the same time, he was not to move in with the other woman, and both were to maintain on social media that they were not a couple. To the other woman's credit, she behaved very correctly and did not manipulate him, allowing him to figure things out for himself, which is rare in these situations. After 3 or 4 months of no contact, during which the husband continued to send money, the wife's anger finally subsided, and she initiated a dialogue. She refused, to my regret, to have a second child. However, she agreed to take a job at her husband's large company, where there were always openings. The most difficult issue was arranging for the husband to see his out-of-wedlock child. The child was already attached to his father, who had been consistently involved. After several emotional breakdowns from the wife and further consultations, we managed to work out a solution. The communication would be transparent for the wife and involve no contact with the now former friend. Since the wife now worked with her husband, her suspicions gradually faded. It's worth noting that the husband was, in general, a decent man. From my perspective, the wife's mistake was her refusal to have a second child. And by diving headfirst into esotericism, she essentially distanced herself from her husband. Let me be clear, I am not justifying the husband. Planning to have a secret child is a profound betrayal. It's a positive outcome that the marriage was saved, but the situation remains highly specific, debatable, and had alternative paths. When the husband and wife separately saw other therapists, they were both unequivocally advised to divorce and move on, since they only had one child who was already grown.